The tension started after a shocking announcement surfaced online and across political circles. A group claiming to represent the Obidient Movement suddenly declared that the movement had been dissolved. Not only that, they also announced that Peter Obi, Yunusa Tanko, and other known figures had been removed from leadership. The statement immediately created confusion across the political space because many supporters had never heard about any internal process that could lead to such a drastic decision. The development quickly became one of the most talked about political issues of the day. Many Nigerians first believed the statement was fake. Others thought it was simply another political rumor designed to create panic among supporters of Peter Obi ahead of the 2027 elections. But as more details emerged, the situation became more serious. The group behind the announcement insisted that they were taking over the movement completely. They claimed that the original leadership no longer represented the true purpose of the Obidient Movement after the 2023 presidential election. That statement immediately raised tension. Because the Obidient Movement was built around Peter Obi's political rise and the massive support he received from young Nigerians, professionals, students, and many frustrated voters looking for political change in the country. For many supporters, the movement was never separated from Peter Obi himself. That is why the sudden declaration that he had been removed shocked many people across the country. The controversy became even bigger after the group announced that the movement had now been rebranded from Obidient Movement to Obidient Movement. The change in spelling may have looked small, but politically, it carried a powerful message. The new group claimed that the movement needed a fresh direction and accused some leaders of using the structure for personal interests and political advantage after the 2023 elections. That accusation immediately triggered angry reactions online. Supporters of the official Obidient Movement described the announcement as suspicious and politically motivated. Many questioned how a movement strongly associated with Peter Obi could suddenly remove him and still claim legitimacy before the public. Questions started pouring in from different political observers. Who exactly were the people behind the rebranding? When was the decision made? Who gave them authority to dissolve the original structure? And why was this happening now? Those questions became even more important because of the timing of the crisis. The political atmosphere in Nigeria is already becoming tense ahead of 2027. Political parties are repositioning quietly. Meetings are taking place behind closed doors. Alliances are being discussed. Powerful politicians are beginning to calculate their next moves. That is why many people immediately linked the crisis inside the Obidient Movement to the growing political realignments already taking shape. Attention then shifted strongly toward Peter Obi himself. Especially he had moved away from ADC and aligned with NDC, the Nigeria Democratic Congress. Even though political discussions around coalition talks and party movements have continued for months, this particular development added another layer of tension to an already sensitive situation. Many supporters believed the sudden leadership crisis was not ordinary coincidence. Some argued that powerful interests were becoming uncomfortable with Peter Obi's continued influence among young voters and urban supporters across the country. Others believed the movement had become too politically important to ignore ahead of another major election cycle. The pressure increased further after the group behind the rebranding held a press briefing in Abuja. During the briefing, the self-declared leaders insisted that they no longer had any relationship with the Labour Party. They also announced that the newly rebranded movement had not endorsed any presidential candidate for the 2027 elections. That particular statement immediately created more political speculation. Because many observers saw it as an attempt to distance the movement completely from Peter Obi and his loyal political structure. The announcement also fueled fresh debates about the future direction of opposition politics in Nigeria. Across social media, reactions became more aggressive. Supporters started attacking each other openly. Some accused the new group of attempting to hijack a movement built through sacrifice, struggle, and public trust during the 2023 elections. Others claimed internal disagreements had been growing quietly for a long time and were now finally exploding into public view. Meanwhile, several Nigerians simply watched the entire situation with confusion. Because for millions of people, the Obidient Movement represented more than ordinary politics. It represented frustration with the system. It represented hope for a different style of leadership. It represented the anger of many young Nigerians who believed the country needed serious change. That emotional connection is exactly why this crisis suddenly became bigger than a normal political disagreement. The controversy was no longer only about leadership positions. It became a battle over identity, loyalty, and control of one of the strongest political movements to emerge in Nigeria in recent years. And as tension continued to rise, many Nigerians waited for one thing: a direct response from the officially recognized leadership of the Obidient Movement. The response from the recognized leadership was direct, sharp, and very aggressive. No soft words. No careful political language. The movement completely rejected the new group and called it an unauthorized parallel structure created to cause confusion. That statement immediately changed the mood across the political space because supporters who had been waiting for clarification finally heard directly from the officially recognized leadership of the movement. The statement was signed by Dr. Yunusa Tanko, the national coordinator of the Obidient Movement. And from the very first lines, the message was clear. The movement was not ready to surrender its identity, leadership, or structure to any rival group claiming authority. According to the statement, certain individuals and groups were deliberately creating confusion around the identity and direction of the movement by operating under names and structures designed to mislead the public. That accusation immediately intensified the political tension surrounding the controversy. Because it was no longer a disagreement hidden inside political meetings. It had now become a public confrontation between two sides both claiming legitimacy. The official leadership made it clear that the movement recognized no alternative leadership structure outside the one aligned with Peter Obi and the established national leadership team. That single declaration became the center of political discussions online. Supporters quickly circulated the statement across social media platforms while defending the authority of Yunusa Tanko and Peter Obi over the movement. At the same time, critics and political opponents continued questioning whether deeper internal disagreements existed behind the scenes. The statement also warned media organizations, supporters across Nigeria and abroad, and the general public not to be deceived by groups using similar names to create confusion. That warning was important because many ordinary supporters had already become uncertain about which group was authentic. Some people believed the rebranding announcement was genuine because of how quickly it spread online. Others believed it was part of a larger political operation designed to weaken the movement before the 2027 elections. The official statement strongly defended the core identity of the Obidient Movement. It described the movement as people-driven and built on integrity, justice, accountability, and the collective dream of a new Nigeria. That section of the statement appeared designed not only to reject the rival group but also to reassure supporters who were becoming worried about the future direction of the movement. The leadership insisted that attempts to misrepresent the movement or exploit its growing influence for hidden political interests would not distract them from their mission. That particular line quickly became one of the most discussed parts of the statement. Because many supporters immediately interpreted it as an indirect accusation against powerful political forces attempting to create division inside the movement. Soon after the statement was released, accusations started spreading rapidly online against the ruling APC government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Many Obidient supporters alleged that the confusion was being sponsored politically to destabilize Peter Obi's support base ahead of 2027. Although no official evidence was publicly presented to support the allegations, the claims gained attention very quickly across political discussions online. Several supporters argued that the Obidient Movement had remained one of the strongest opposition political forces in the country since the 2023 elections. Because of that, they believed efforts were already being made to weaken its structure before campaign activities fully begin for the next presidential election. The timing of the crisis continued to raise suspicion among many observers. Especially because the controversy started shortly after reports emerged that Peter Obi had moved from ADC to NDC, the Nigeria Democratic Congress. That development alone had already generated political tension across different opposition circles. Now, with the sudden emergence of a rival leadership structure claiming to remove Peter Obi from the movement entirely, many people believed the political battle had entered a more aggressive phase. Meanwhile, supporters of the rival group defended their position publicly. They insisted that the movement had drifted away from its original vision after the 2023 elections and claimed that the rebranding was necessary to restore credibility and direction. However, Supporters loyal to Peter Obi completely rejected that explanation. For them, the movement was created around the message, popularity, and political struggle of Peter Obi himself. That is why many considered the attempt to remove him from the movement both unrealistic and politically suspicious. Across social media platforms, tensions continued rising. Political arguments became more intense. Supporters attacked each other openly. Some accused rival politicians of trying to steal the emotional energy and national support the movement built during the last election cycle. Others warned that internal division could seriously damage opposition unity before 2027. Political analysts also started paying closer attention to the situation. Because beyond the emotional reactions online, the crisis revealed something deeper about Nigeria's political environment ahead of another election season. Control of political structures is becoming increasingly important. Movements with large followings are now seen as valuable political assets. And any sign of division inside those movements immediately attracts national attention. As the controversy continued spreading, one reality became clearer. The battle over the identity and leadership of the Obidient movement was no longer a minor disagreement. It had become a major political conflict with possible consequences far beyond the movement itself. What makes this entire situation more serious is not just the fight itself. It is the timing. Nigeria is slowly moving toward another heated election season. Political camps are already reorganizing. Alliances are changing. Old friends are becoming rivals. And every major political figure is trying to secure control before the real battle begins. That is why this obedient crisis matters far beyond social media arguments. Because movements are powerful only when they remain united. The moment division enters, enemies become stronger. Right now, Peter Obi still has strong loyal supporters across Nigeria and abroad. That has not changed. But this crisis shows something important. The political attacks ahead may not always come openly. Some may come through confusion. Some through division. Some through fake structures. And some through internal fights that weaken public trust slowly. The official Obidient leadership is now trying hard to calm supporters and protect the movement's identity. But the damage from the headlines has already spread. Many Nigerians are now watching closely. They want to know if this movement can survive pressure from both outside and inside. Because history has shown something again and again in Nigerian politics. Strong movements often collapse when internal battles begin. That is why the next few months may become very critical. If supporters stay united, the movement may survive stronger. If confusion grows, the political consequences could become massive before 2027 even arrives. What is happening now also reflects a larger political reality across the country. The race toward 2027 has already started quietly, even if official campaigns have not begun. Every political camp is studying public mood. Every major figure is trying to protect influence. And every movement with strong grassroots support has now become a target for political competition. That is why many observers believe this crisis may not end anytime soon. Because once political structures become valuable, battles over control usually become more aggressive. The Obidient movement grew rapidly during the 2023 elections because it connected emotionally with millions of Nigerians. Young people saw themselves inside the movement. Professionals defended it strongly online. Many first-time voters joined politics because of it. And for many frustrated citizens, it became more than support for one candidate. It became a symbol of resistance against the traditional political system. That emotional connection is exactly why the current leadership battle is attracting so much attention. People are not only reacting politically. Many are reacting emotionally. Some supporters now fear that internal confusion could weaken the unity that made the movement powerful in the first place. Others believe the movement is simply facing the normal pressure that comes when political influence grows too quickly. But regardless of opinion, one thing is already clear. The crisis has exposed serious tension beneath the surface. It has also revealed how vulnerable political movements can become when leadership disputes enter the public space. Meanwhile, opposition politics in Nigeria is becoming more complicated. Coalition talks continue quietly. Party movements are increasing. Several politicians are repositioning ahead of the next election cycle. And because Peter Obi remains one of the most recognized opposition figures in the country, every political development connected to him immediately becomes national news. That explains why the announcement claiming he had been removed from the movement generated such strong reactions across different political groups. For his loyal supporters, the idea sounded impossible. For political opponents, the controversy created an opportunity to question the stability of the movement. And for undecided Nigerians watching from outside, the crisis raised concerns about whether opposition forces can remain united long enough to challenge the ruling establishment effectively in 2027. The situation also highlights another important issue inside Nigerian politics. Movements built around strong public emotion often face major tests after elections, especially when expectations remain high and political ambitions begin changing. That is usually when struggles over influence, direction, and control start becoming visible. Some analysts believe this may only be the beginning of larger political confrontations ahead. Because as 2027 gets closer, pressure inside both ruling and opposition camps is expected to increase. More alliances may break apart. More rivalries may emerge. And more political groups may begin competing for public attention and grassroots loyalty. For now, the official Obidient leadership continues insisting that the movement remains united under its recognized structure aligned with Peter Obi and Yunusa Tanko. Supporters loyal to that structure are also continuing efforts to reassure members that the movement remains focused on its original mission. At the same time, the rival group behind the rebranding continues defending its actions publicly and insisting that it represents a different direction for the movement. That means the political confrontation may continue for some time. And as both sides fight for legitimacy, ordinary supporters may become the most important factor in deciding which structure eventually gains stronger public acceptance. But beyond all the statements, accusations, and online battles, one reality now stands out clearly. The Obidient movement has entered one of the most difficult moments since it rose to national prominence during the 2023 elections. And with the road to 2027 already becoming more tense, many Nigerians now understand that the struggle over the movement's future could shape a much bigger political battle that is still ahead.